drills or physical testing. Sanders did throw just under an hour, and Hunter had no problem finding his passes. Louis Riddick was there. Here's what he found.
Shedeur Sanders showed us all exactly what we expected to see. A young man who's tremendously poised, he's accurate, he has enough athletic ability to throw the football outside the pocket, and most importantly, he can put a lot of velocity on the football when need be, depending upon what the route calls for. He was accurate at all three levels. He threw to a tremendous group of wide receivers headlined by Travis Hunter, who didn't take part in the individual drills, but he did run all of the routes for Shedeur during his workout, and he showed you his one-of-one type of fluidity, deep speed, hand-eye coordination, and just overall athleticism. And it's no wonder why he won the Heisman Trophy. Head coach Deion Sanders was very happy with how everything went off. And now we all get to wait to see what happens as far as where these players are individually selected during the draft in Green Bay. In Boulder, I'm Louis Riddick, ESPN.
Well, I do know this. Multiple mock drafts have Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders going in that top 5 in the draft later this month. If that happens, they would become the first quarterback wide receiver duo from the same school to be drafted in the top 5 in the Common Draft era.
Deion Sanders called Pro Day in Colorado the We Ain't Hard to Find showcase. Quarterback Shedeur Sanders and Heisman Trophy winner Travis Hunter were among the 16 Colorado players who took part in the event, with representatives from every NFL team out there. Neither Shedeur Sanders nor Hunter took part in most of the position drills or physical testing, but Sanders had a throwing session for just under an hour, and Hunter was one of the receivers who participated. So it's time to showcase the Fowler Files with Jeremy Fowler. Jeremy in the house. Now, Jeremy, we've talked about quarterbacks a lot in this draft, but the thing about Travis Hunter is we initially didn't expect him to participate in these drills until he decided to, run routes for his boy Shedeur Sanders. So it was just a little teaser for everybody in attendance. What's the talk surrounding Hunter after Friday?
Scooby, the talk is that he's probably the best player in the draft. He absolutely should go somewhere in the top 3. He had the streets buzzing with just the way he was moving around, the athleticism he showed as a wide receiver. And then, talking to teams last night, they thought he was planting a seed that, hey, I want to be a wideout. He didn't do one backpedal yesterday as a cornerback, despite a lot of teams seeing him as a cornerback above a receiver. They're grappling with where to play him. Can he truly be a two-way type player? It might be a situation where he's a receiver and can be a third down cornerback for a team. I know I've talked to some teams that look at him that way. They're trying to figure that out, but they almost don't care because he's so talented and he's going to be such a star in the league. They just want to get him. And so the feeling is like Giants at 3, Patriots at 4 would be his absolute floor right now.
Yeah, he's such a special player, and that's the reason why he won the Heisman. I mean, the guy does it on both sides of the field. Now, quarterbacks is a position that I mentioned we talk about a lot. The evaluation of these quarterbacks in the draft is kind of all over the place. Deion Sanders thinks that Travis Hunter and Shedeur should be the first 2 picks of the draft, but there's other things being said around the league. What have the Fowler Files uncovered in terms of what the word is on Shedeur Sanders?
Well, if we look at the Browns, I know Cleveland is considering Shedeur Sanders on their short list of players in contention for that second pick. They had a good dinner with Shedeur the other night. They think he's a stud, that he's got charisma, he's a dynamic personality. They believe he's a leader, all those things. But they've also been heavily linked to Abdul Carter. They've spent a lot of time with him. So the feeling around the league is they could go with a position player. Giants at 3 could go position player. That leaves him in a precarious spot. Where does he fall? Teams are trying to sort of figure that out, but he will certainly go in the first round, no doubt. And then Jackson Dart, he is a hot name right now. When you talk to teams, they bring him up unprompted. Where is Jackson Dart going to go? He met with Pittsburgh this week on a top 30 visit, went to visit the Steelers. They picked 21st, so that could be an option there. And then the Saints have done a lot of quarterback homework. They were watching Dart intently at his pro day the other day, so they could be a sleeper for him. There's even talk in some league circles that he could go ahead of Shedeur. I have a hard time believing that at this point, but teams are at least wondering whether he could jump that high.
That is so fascinating. I can't wait for the draft, which is on April 24th on ESPN.
The NFL Draft less than 3 weeks away. It all begins with the first round, April 24th, 8 Eastern on ESPN. See them Colorado boys looking to get taken in the draft, and after skipping the workouts at the NFL Combine, Shedeur Sanders showed off his arm at the Colorado NFL Showcase yesterday. Shocker, Sanders looked good throwing on no defense in a controlled setting. After the session, he showed off his confidence sitting down with Field Yates and Louis Riddick.
All I need is opportunity. Simple. Whatever franchise want to change their franchise, then there's no doubt who to go with. I've done it over and over and over, so you'll be a fool not to pick me. Let me ask you a question. What's the most important trait of a quarterback?
I'd say decision-making and accuracy. Winning.
Consistency.
That works, too.
Look at the last 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I know I'm the best quarterback in the draft.
The
So,
consistency of
yeah,
your decision-making
truly
and
can.
accuracy.
So
It makes sense.
What checks all boxes?
Yeah, I got
At
you.
least the one guy, but you know I'm a Sanders. They can't put me.
Another shocker. Sanders firmly believes in his ability. NFL draft analyst Matt Miller with us this morning to break it down. Matt, there's a scenario where Shedeur falls out of the top 3, despite all 3 of those teams in desperate need of a quarterback. If indeed he does slide, how far could he go?
Yeah, this is the, I think, story to watch on Thursday night when we get to Green Bay is if he slides, who stops it? We could see a team like the New Orleans Saints. They have the number 9 overall pick, a new head coach in Kellen Moore. He could absolutely want the accuracy and the consistency of Shedeur Sanders that he just mentioned and say, this is going to be our guy after Derek Carr, who's really on a year-to-year basis right now. But after that, you get into the teens. All those teams have quarterbacks, right? Or they've made moves to get quarterbacks. So we could see a little bit of a drop. This is what happened to Aaron Rodgers. It's what happened to Jordan Love. It is how these guys end up in the 20s. Now, would the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are at 21 and they currently do not have a quarterback, could the Pittsburgh Steelers see Sanders start to slide and go up to get him? That's something that I hope happens. It's definitely a storyline that we should be watching as Pittsburgh waits for Aaron Rodgers and as we game out these scenarios that if Shedeur makes it past the New York Giants at number 3, what team is going to move up to select him?
Yeah, and what interests me, Matt, is that his draft position prop at ESPN Bet is 8.5, meaning under if he's selected 1 through 8, over if he's picked 9 or later. Also out right now on .com, you have your first-round graded players. Now, it doesn't mean the players you think are going to be taken in the first round. It's just the ones you have scouted with a first-round grade, and I don't see a quarterback on that list of players with a first-round grade. So compare this year's class, highlighted by Ward and Sanders, to the class we just saw come into the league last year.
Yeah, Tyler, short story. We were blessed last year with quarterbacks. We saw 6 of those guys come off in the first round, and these 4 that you see on your screen were elite quarterback prospects. Obviously, Caleb Williams, Jayden Daniels, Drake May were seen as elite-level blue-chip quarterbacks, and then J.J. McCarthy, who I also had a first-round grade on. I'm a Cam Ward fan. He's my top quarterback in this draft, but he falls just below that line for me of getting a true first-round grade. And that really means, would you have been a first-round pick in the last 5 drafts? I don't believe that Cam Ward would have been based on his ranking. Now, there's a lot to like. There's also times where you worry because he will hold himself in the pocket into mistakes. He will take himself into sacks. He'll put himself in bad positions with throws. That being said, the playmaking ability, the arm talent, the mobility, the way he has ascended from Incarnate Ward to Washington State to Miami are all positives for his tape. If he's the number 1 overall pick by the Tennessee Titans, which it seems like he's going to be as of this time, they're getting a player that they can build an offense and a team around.
Remember, 6 quarterbacks taken in last year's first-round draft. We will see how many get selected when the draft kicks off April 24th on ESPN. Thank you.
Chào cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Ngày hôm nay mình sẽ tiếp tục hướng dẫn các bạn làm vòng, và hôm nay của mình sẽ có tiêu đề là Thiên Nga. Mọi người, hôm nay vòng của mình sẽ có tiêu đề là Phượng Hoàng. Bây giờ mình sẽ bắt đầu làm nha. Mọi người, đây là màu xanh này, tiếp đến là màu vàng nha.